Hey everybody, Stratton here again, network security major at UAT, working on my student innovation project. If you haven't seen anything about it, it is a facial recognition garage door opener. Basically self-explanatory to a point. I'm going to be using Microsoft's facial recognition software to basically grant you access to your garage door. My claim to innovation on this is to go away from the single factor authentication of something that you know with your PIN to type into your garage door on the outside of it, and maybe to go more towards the biotech of something that you have, your face in this case. I haven't decided if I'm going to keep the pins or not to make it a two-factor authentication. That's something that you have and know, your PIN and your face. But that's what I'm working on right now. Some of the parts I'm going to need for it is going to be a Raspberry Pi 3. I don't have that in hand yet, but I'll show a diagram as to the one I'm going to be using here in a little bit. And then a garage door opener clicker. I'm going to break this down here in a little bit to show you exactly what I'm going to be using on that. And a webcam right here. This is going to be used to scan your face and to connect with Microsoft Server with their facial recognition software. And upon hitting a positive match, the coding to the Raspberry Pi will do certain things to the circuit to the garage door clicker that is already going to be RF'd to my garage door opener. And if there's no positive match, hopefully it will be programmed to do absolutely nothing and don't grant you access to the house. So here is the guts of my project. What I'll be using to support most of this is the Raspberry Pi 3 Model B. I just want to show a few components of it. Since I don't have this in hand yet, I just wanted to show you, what it is and what I plan on using all the rest of my parts for it on. Here it's got 4 USB 2 ports right here. I'll be using one of those to use my supported webcam via USB. And then down here below, you'll see the micro USB power input. I'll be using a battery pack that I'll show you here in a little bit to connect there to give it its power supply. That way I don't have to connect direct power to the Raspberry Pi itself. And then if you look, here are the pins that I will be coding out and connecting the circuit of my garage door clicker to help communicate between the garage door clicker itself, the webcam, and the Raspberry Pi integrated all together. So I'll show you the battery pack that I plan on using for this, and some more of the guts of the equipment that I'll be using. As you can see here, this is just a Romos battery bank, power bank essentially. It's got micro USB support for it. It is 10,000 mAh, and it has 2 different 5-volt outputs, which I do believe is going to be enough voltage to support the Raspberry Pi in order to connect to the clicker and the webcam usage, and because the clicker only takes 3 volts right now, so I don't think 5 volts will be too much. So here you're going to see really the design prototype I have in mind. I haven't decided what materials I will be using, but here's how I want it to essentially look. If you look here, this arrow is pointing to the whole device itself. That's where the Raspberry Pi and the garage door clicker and that power bank are all going to be inside of this 3-dimensional apparatus. And then if you look here, it looks kind of like an eyeball. I was hoping to kind of represent the webcam itself. The webcam should be on top of the device. That will be where you are scanning for facial recognition. And then down below here, this is essentially going to be a button I want to use to turn on the device. One of the things I was thinking of is if it's always scanning and always saying this is not a match when there's no face there, it might kill the battery pretty quick. So I'm hoping to integrate some type of button essentially to click this, and then that wakes up the entire device. The battery starts working at that point, and then facial recognition can go from there. So it's more for a battery life saver more than functionality. So here I have the garage door clicker that I plan to be using. On the back side there were just two little screws that I had to remove. Really what I want to show you here is how I'm going to try to connect this to the Raspberry Pi itself. It just simply comes apart. There's a couple clickers here. These come off. These are just the buttons to help you. And really, I want to get down to this. This is just the meat of the garage door clicker itself. And this button right here, I don't want to push it because it might open up my garage door right now. I want to solder this off right there at those points. I want to solder them off, and I want to connect that to the Raspberry Pi to create a circuit. So when the coding says to push power through the circuit, I want it to go through here, and if this receives a circuit, I want it to activate as you would press the button down. So I just wanted to show you that piece as well.